from start to finish within 7 hours. Right? Now, that is something that I've seen American companies trying to achieve.
Tempo for your company in terms of the right call, the right advice, and giving the right choice to the customer. Having these deliveries come in one go, right? One go, which is very important. Although we're talking about structures which are 8 feet, 9 feet, and making them seem like packages. And we're trying to encourage people use that because we've tested and we know it's not going to, it's going to have a proper warranty. It's going to have a proper. So today you book an order, you complete a payment. I'm there at your house next day, 8:30 in the morning to install the system. If they're wearing all of their safety stuff while they're there. So it's completely 101%. I can guarantee now that it's professional, right?
Yeah.
There's also messaging that we are Bangalore, Bangalore oriented, Nama Uru, Nama Bangalore kind
Yeah,
of a
localized.
thing.
So today we are joined by a very special guest, somebody that we know for a long time, and somebody who's ruling the world of operations in the solar world. He's transformed the way solar is installed, at least to start with in Bangalore. And today we're going to have a conversation with him about how he was able to achieve excellence in customer satisfaction and delivering to what he promises to customers. So we are very happy to welcome Shailendra on our podcast today. And we're going to talk about solar operations.
Right.
Shailendra, we know you for several years now.
Right.
I've had the pleasure of working with you for 10 years. And I've seen your evolution into a master of operations. And me personally, I enjoy working with you because you're friendly, but you're also, you challenge us quite a bit.
So I think Prem has been a mentor now at least for 2 or 3 organizations. I think I learned a little from maybe the first. I think I gave an interview probably
10 years ago.
10 years ago
In Hyderabad, yes.
Hyderabad, yes. I think the first thing I remember when I talk about Prem is I used to have another friend of mine who was also been very close to both of us. Don't let him pull the image, it's going to skew out, right, on the PPT, right? Because the marketing guy is so particular about getting things right, the picture right? So I said, I know that, okay? So kind of and then to today, and then I think I had an amazing journey along with Prem, right?
Yeah.
And I think I evolved and I realized that I can do something in operations because probably that was the time when I was given the opportunity to work freehand, developing a store for a consumer in an industry like solar, which is very tough because when you think of solar, you think of structures, you think of big panels, you think of inverters, long cables. How do you optimize this to have a great experience for the customer, right? So I started off with a very good company, which is Avaya, right? That was basically, I had a little bit of experience with Avaya. Avaya gave me a lot of experience in working with consumers, especially with IP telephony. And I traveled a lot different parts of the world, with Avaya, trying to solve customer issues and all of that. And eventually, that customer section of Avaya was bought out by HP. Then I slowly then moved into semiconductors and then solar industry. And then solar industry kind of stuck to me in a way that there is something sustainable because
Even in your when you started off in the semiconductor world, you were in the customer experience department, right?
yes,
And so your customer focus has been kind of imbibed in that sense
yes.
to ensure that the customer satisfaction is taken care of.
Yes, I think, Prem, to an extent that I was always a part of the customer, service community. Always, I call that the community, where I learned a lot of things. How do you interact with customers in order in able to deliver a great experience? And I always feel that the experience doesn't start from where you're delivering the product. It always starts from the first call that you make to the customer, right?
Right.
It actually sets up that tempo for your company in terms of the right call, the right advice, and giving the right choice to the customer, right? And that's how you come to the operations part of it, the operations part of it. But all of this together in today's world is a customer experience.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, customer experience has been thought of as a call center or
Yes.
customer support desk that will be more reactive rather.
Reactive. Whenever a customer calls, you got to do something when the
Yeah.
customer's product is not working, right?
Right.
But I remember having this conversation with you in 2018 when we were starting off this service for
Right.
that it has to be every interaction of the customer needs to be optimized and amazing.
Amazing.
And the customer should not actually have to call us up, and we should be able to take care of that proactively.
Right. So I think when we started off with that project for store, we realized that more of a distributor based company serving
Yeah.
product based companies, consumer experience wasn't that effective or that important for them.
Yeah.
So we started up with a small program called as which is the legacy upgrade program, which was direct to consumers.
Yes.
And I think when I and Prem stepped in, we were like, lot of there were, I think, zillion of customer complaints than the orders,
Yes.
right? So that's where we sat down, pondered together, and said, okay, the experience is something that is hampering. The first call and telling customer what do you expect next in the next call, and telling what do you expect when the product is delivered to you, and how is this delivery going to happen. Let's try it out. And I think when we tried it out, that really started working for us. When we
Right.
set the expectation, what is next for the customer
Right.
to expect, right? Because as a company is already present, so as a product, people have already tried and tested. Now the whole of the factor is the experience part of it, right?
Now,
Yeah.
that concept is very interesting. That the part that you just mentioned about, which is letting the customer know what is next. Somehow, I feel that is a very understated point, right? And somehow, it's not as widespread in the industry as it should be,
Hmm.
because a lot of brands, in my opinion, don't get it right on the first try at all, right?
Right.
This concept of saying what is next, ex- letting the expectation or setting the expectation what is next. What are your thoughts on it? How did that come about in your mind?
So, while I'm also a very frequent buyer on the e-commerce, right? So you place an order in Amazon versus, let's say, one of the other sites, right? Amazon always gives you a note saying that, okay, your delivery is going to be expected in so and so time. Although the time varies large, but you have something set in your head saying that, okay, I'm going to expect this is the next thing that's going to happen to me. I'm going to have some delivery guy come into my house on this date between this and this hour.
Yeah.
I need to be present, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, the local will give you a link. You can keep tracking the shipment forever. You don't know where it's getting started from, where is it ending at, right? So I started thinking that when I take an order for, let's take an example for a solar, and I say, okay, your booking amount is X. You pay the booking amount, my order is done, and there's a blank silence,
Yeah.
right? I mean, as if you won the battle, and
And it's
Yeah.
not X is not small. X is
yeah,
several lakhs.
several
Mm,
lakhs, right? So
mm.
if you tell them that I've taken this amount, as a next step, you will have a call from my project manager who's going to help you with so and so application. He'll be happy, that content, that I know what's happening next. So what is a good time for me to call, for have our project manager call you back, right,
Yeah.
to getting this done, set up. So he feels that you've been taken care of well,
Yeah.
right? That every step is controlled.
Yeah. And investing in a customer experience program which sets expectations and then delivers to expectations has manifold returns, because then you are getting referrals,
Of course.
and then you are getting reducing the cost of acquisition because of referrals, and these referrals convert at a higher percentage,
Right.
and it becomes an unstoppable engine.
Hmm.
So brands don't get this right first, right? What was your experience like when we were doing? How did you go about? What are some of those learnings that you still remember?
So if you remember, Prem, I think I used to get postcards from people abroad saying that
Yeah.
you kind of delivered this to my mother so
Yes.
well.
Yes.
I'm having my neighbor do this for you. I
Yes.
think I was able to achieve that because I was able to see. Now, in such situations, mostly when we're talking about, it's an elderly span of life, right? It's
Yeah.
talking about people who are taking solar between 45 to 55. Youngsters are very small in numbers, right?
Yeah.
Usually people, they need to be told again, they need to be told calmly, they need to be
Thanks for letting
explained.
us know that we
Yeah.
are old. And we'll
Right.
be much older in 20 years.
Right. So I think they have a little acceptance, which is told to be them slowly and make them understand,
Yeah.
what is this going to change for you.
And many of our customers there were already having panels for 10 years or so,
Yes.
and they were already, beyond 70. Some of them were beyond 70
Yes,
even.
in the US, it was beyond that. So they had to be told who's going to come to your house, when are they going to come to their house, and what is going to happen next.
Mm.
And when they're doing this, what is it in it for them,
Mm.
right? I mean, when we started explaining this, then people started realizing, okay, this is what is going to happen, right?
Mm.
And then one of the other big things which I've actually tried and adapted it in Atria is having these deliveries come in one go,
Mm.
right? One go, which is very important. Although we're talking about structures which are 8 feet, 9 feet, and making them seem like packages,
Yeah.
right? You
So, Shailendra, many of our uh, people who see this may not know what a solar installation looks like.
right,
So, describe to me what was happening, which is broken,
right,
and share with me what were some of these, glaring issues that you observed.
right. So one, the most important thing was, like I always state, and I always keep telling my team members also, always keep the customer informed on next steps, right? That was never happening,
Yeah.
right? It likes vanish in the wind.
Mm.
Second, as and in the Indian market, right, when you are dealing with Indian customers, and I started learning this slowly but gradually, I understood. When he's paid for something, he wants it now. He wants it today, right? You give him a large span of time to think about it, he's going to turn up the decision soon, right? He's going
Right.
to check options, he's going to
Right.
look around. So it's like I was just taking this example to Sriram, right? I had a car, I was reviewing cars. I think I had a Wrangler guy come into my home. He said everything. I said, let's do the booking. He said, I'll go home. I'll go there and send the link. In the meantime, I had the I-20. That guy did not move from his sofa till he got that booking amount done,
Mm.
right? And he
So
did
how
not,
long did it take you to change your mind in that case?
and that's
A
because
few minutes.
a few minutes, right?
Uh,
Because he was ready with everything. I asked him about a higher end of the car, but he was not out of focus. He was telling me what I-20 can deliver to me,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
So what I have done is, first of all, when you go to consumers, I've learned is they give you many options. You give them bifacials, you give them Topcon, you
Mm.
give them monoperk, and they don't know anything about
Micro
it.
inverter, string
Right?
inverter.
String, and they're completely confused. And on top of it, customer has done his own research,
hmm.
Mm.
right? Where he's done his own Google search and he's sitting with a pond of knowledge, right? Which he
Mm.
is like the, and you're confusing the hell out of them. So I stick to certain in Atria, we stick to certain products that we have selected, home tested them, given them good amount of testing and performance so that we can vouch and we can stay by what we are guaranteeing, right?
Mm.
So we stick to one set of panels, one set of inverters, and we're trying to encourage people use that because we've tested and we know it's not going to, it's going to have a proper warranty, it's going to have a proper performance happening.
So, in other words, you stand by one type of a system,
Correct.
and you don't want various variations. You don't want a premium system. You don't want a standard system. It's one system
Correct.
which you can stand behind. So you develop that, back linkage with the supplier also, and
Correct.
he's able to give you better terms and better warranty.
Yes, he's going to give me better terms, better warranty, better availability of the product. So their wait times are very minimal
Yeah.
for me. Hence, the wait time for the customer is very minimal. So today you book an order, you complete a payment. I'm there at your house next day, 8:30 in the morning to install the system.
So that's something which we wanted to ask you
Uh,
also.
At this point, we'd like to, for the benefit of people who are listening into this video or watching this video, we'd like to point out that, you have managed to complete, and I should say repeatedly, because it's not just a one-time occurrence or like a, flash in the pan. You've done a significant amount of your installations from start to finish within 7 hours,
Right.
right? Now, that is something that I've seen American companies trying to achieve for the last about 10-15 years right now,
Yeah.
right? And this installation of even a 24-hour turnaround for installation has been like a pipe dream till now, right? Because either there is no material, or you're waiting for something, or you're testing it out, or something is not there yet, right? You're waiting for the local electricity board to get you approvals, get it started. How did you achieve this?
So even before you answer that, is
Hmm.
it true that you do installations and commissioning in 7 hours?
Yes, we
I
do.
got mine done in 7 hours, so I can
Right,
I
right,
can vouch for that. So
right.
And you've been able to achieve this for all of your
Consistently, yes,
installations.
consistently we've been able to do that.
Yeah.
And I think one of the key steps to that was to finalize, like I was just talking a little while ago, finalize the set of products that you can stand by and the customer, you can explain to the customer, right?
Yeah.
Second is we have intensively worked, I mean, with my previous experience, and I've come to a conclusion that there are 10 steps that we have identified that we should follow in order to deliver this. So what we do is we have our own training camp, in training in the Atria University for the installers who come and join with us. We let them know to do this 10 steps. If there is a deviation in this test step, the 4.5 hours or 5.5 hours of installation is going to go for a swing. If you're going to use this these steps, 10 steps of installing, which are basically how which bolt to tight first and which bolt to unplug first
you
and
have
all
like
of
a
that.
proprietary method
Yeah,
that's developed
proprietary
right now.
method
Okay.
that we've trained them.
Can you share some details on this, or at whatever level, if we cannot go into details, but at least at a higher level, what are these 10 steps?
So we have these 10 steps from the time how do you unload the material from a van, right? What do you take first? What do you take second? What do you take third? How do you do it in case if you have a narrow walkway through it?
Passage.
Don't
Yeah.
waste time on it. Take this step and you take this thing done. Which are the legs of the structure that you install first? How do you start with installing? How do you start with drilling of those nut and bolts? Each of those nut and bolts are not highly intensive. We have given them tools which are specifically, so all of these installers that we have today are used tools given by us.
So these are
right?
your own employees
Yeah.
or
No, these are my installer partners,
okay.
but they have been given tools. They are authorized to use the tools only which has been given by us, right?
So explain how you train these installers with your 10 steps and
Right.
what happens once the training is done.
So we have a training. So once we have an onboarding of the installer happen, so the installers can partner with us for the installation partner. We have a 7-day training program. We intensively train them on how to install and uninstall the structures and panels at the university.
Hmm.
Our chairman, Mr. Sundaraj, has been kind enough to give us a roof space where we keep doing this,
Wow.
installing work over and over again.
Hmm.
Which angle, what is the angle to be done, and we have a nice map that we have developed in the where they can just place it on the roof, get the holes to be drilled out, so they don't waste time in all those, measuring the length of that,
So it's
from
like a
one,
Formula
yeah,
One pit stop kind of a
one pit
mechanism.
stop kind of a thing.
Okay.
Wow.
And we train them for 7 days, and after that we give them a 3-day operational training. And what does that operational training mean? How do you communicate the customer? What are the do's and don'ts that you do in the when you're at
Hmm.
this site? You're supposed to wear an Atria power t-shirt, you're supposed
Yeah.
to wear safety, you're supposed to wear harness, you cannot. And I per whatever they get in the market, I give them 1 or 2 rupees more than that. And the reason that I do that is also have a leverage to leave, charge them, penalize them if they don't follow those 10 steps.
So these people obviously work with other brands
Yes,
also.
yes.
And is your experience been that these people are very open to your 10 steps, or do they push back and say this is a waste of our time or we know better? What has your experience been in that sense?
So usually when they come for the first time, when they come for a training, they, as usual, every installer, or even if I would have gone for a training, I know this, I know this, I know this. So we start off with saying that you're all trained installers. We're just refreshing the steps in you. We have a mandate to follow these 10 steps, and we're
Yeah.
going to have a project lead who's going to be assigned to you for the first 10, 15 installs,
Yeah.
who's going to watch out for you and if you're following the steps or not.
Right.
Reason why we do that is because we're going to pay you well, and then there's a penalizing. At that point of time, you should not let me know that you have penalized me for something that I've not done.
So even if they don't follow what may seem like a trivial step, for
Right.
example,
Right.
how they unload the material, they will still get penalized.
Yes, they will. They will. Initially, they were like you said, Prem, right? They were, first of all, they were surprised when I told them that you can finish this off. And at that point of time, I started, you can finish this off in 12 hours. Oh, no way. It's going to take at least 2 days, 3 days. I have to come, drill, do this, do that. When they started doing that 4.5 hours, they were surprised themselves that we are able to complete sites.
Hmm.
And because they're able to do that, a site that used to complete in 3 days, I'm able to give them 12 sites in 3 days.
Hmm.
So it's basically more money for them.
More money for them, right? So the question that lies in them, that why not follow the step, get more money rather than go hunt and then stay for 3 days, do a site. I think I have not asked them this question, but using these steps, since they know the steps, if they're using this for another installer, they must be getting even better response there too.
So you have worked in other installation companies also.
Right.
Why do you think that these people have not been, other installation companies have not been able to achieve either a 10-step process or a similar standardization of installation to reduce the time taken for installation?
So two things in this. One, this is one that I've noticed is they work through multiple installer partners, right? So they do not have a quality control in place, right?
Yeah.
I work through multiple partners, but I have a project lead who's looking into each of these installer partners,
Okay.
right? I also monitor each of these sites when they are online. I have a complete video, visual, audio happening in my office where people are monitoring this on a real
Wow.
time, right?
So you have a video feed of the
Of
installation
the
happening
installation,
real
yes.
time.
So you set that up first when you go to the
So
site.
that as a part of the 10 process setters, as soon as the installer reaches
That's
home, he
crazy.
finds a place on the rooftop where he can set. I've given him a camera that he can install with a mobile SIM that can have no network issues. And he's supposed to start the camera and then start loading and unloading the materials,
Wow.
right? There's a vehicle there is a camera installed in the vehicle that I deliver.
We'll
Right?
talk about the vehicle
Right,
in a bit.
right.
So where you transport the material also, that also has a camera.
Yes, that also has camera. So all of this quality control measures that we have taken is helping us control the installers not doing anything beyond what has been needed, right? Which
Right.
is wastage. So
Right.
I even tell them at some point of time, I've told them that you guys are standing and chit chatting here, right?
Wow.
Not to happen in the customer location. Please move off. Please start. You can have a conversation. Not, I'm not restricting you from having a conversation, but now you're at a customer site, right?
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you do that. I check their safety, if they're wearing all of their safety stuff while they're there. So it's completely 101%. I can guarantee now that it's professional, right? And I can make out if he's going to do more than 4.5 hours of install, he's done some goof up somewhere, right? So
Mm.
because we've done so many installs thus far, that we can definitely make out that. So that
So-
is one way.
So
right?
yeah.
And the other way of doing that, material shortages, right? Material shortages at the site, I've seen prolongs a lot of time variance, right? So you want an M6 bolt, which is 80 inches, kind of a thing, and you have an installer to look around. You're not going to find that in a local hardware shop.
Hmm.
You need to go to a designated solar hardware shop where you're going
Hmm.
to find out, and that might be somewhere in MG Road. This guy's installing somewhere in Pina.
Hmm.
There's a time, right? So I make sure that we are well, in the form of kits. Everything that is given for that install is given something in more quantity, and like I said, the vehicle is equipped with something extra for all of this mishaps that might happen, right?
So at this point, I also wanted to talk about the fact that when I was getting solar installed at my house, you were there personally,
Right.
and I initially thought that you were there because you are my friend, but then I also realized that you were there for 50 other installations, which you were there personally, and you were there supervising each and every installation. To me, that showed extreme level of ownership, right? And I also wanted to learn from you on where did you learn to take up that level of extreme ownership, and what were some of the learnings that you had after being in at so many customer sites when they were actively driving installation to the point of completion for you.
Right. So Shivam, I owe this a little bit for my learning, right? So I think I had, like I said, right, the store was set up from scratch.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to go and be there in the US warehouse for, the flex warehouse for like 3 months or so, right? And I learned one thing, that telling them instructions over a call, telling them to do what it has to be done, doesn't work out all the time. So you show them how to pack stuff. These Mexican guys were able to pack it up in the best way possible, right? But it is because that's the way that they've been trained, right? I mean, you have to come and show them what goes in where and what has to happen, and that's the way you get a kit ready. You cannot have the whole solar equipment come in small boxes until unless you have designated spaces where to put what, how to put where. All of that is very important, right? Like packaging of a panel, you have to make sure the panels are not facing, glasses are not facing on each other, and there should
Yeah.
be enough cushioning,
Mm.
right? Otherwise, even in the vehicle that you transport, it might crack, right? To an extent that I've gone in the US, where we have also provided shock absorbers in the vehicle to
Yeah.
ensure that these cracks do not happen, right? We have tested it so hard, right? So I learned that when if I want my installer partner to do what I say, he has to be knowing that I might step in at any point in time to give a now check, right? Or I should be there in the first 50, 100 sites to tell him, okay, this is what I'm expecting from him. I cannot teach customer experience by sitting in a sofa to him. I have to show him how am I speaking to the customer, and he has to replicate the same thing in the next install, right? Because they are not in that level of it where they know what communication is, right? They're all, after all, your partners. They have not dealt directly with the customer. Customer might tell them many things which they are not really ready to answer at that point in time, and they will anyway refer to you. Why not be at that site and help customer communicate and solve it? And I think what I've observed in the 4.5 hours, in the first hour, if a project lead or a manager or myself, if I'm on the site, almost half of the question or 100% of the question of the customer dies off,
Okay.
right?
For the
Because
first 1 hour of the
first 1 hour
installation.
of the install, because that's the
Okay.
time when you're drilling his roof,
Huh.
right? Then he'll have questions. Is this going to cause a seepage? How is it
Hmm.
going to stand? And he
Correct. I
also,
had a same question.
right,
Yeah.
right, how is
Yeah.
it going to work out, right?
Mm.
So, and then you explain to him everything in detail, and now with the help of you guys, I even have a video that I show him how the installation is done.
Hmm.
That brings in the confidence, like, you have a head of operations who's coming and explaining, he feels secured
Hmm.
because you have gone into his house, and house is one of the most important things. The Indian community belongs very close to their heart, right?
Absolutely.
Mm.
It comes from their ancestors, or they
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
built
Yeah.
it themselves, right? So it's very, so anything that they do is very critical.
And they know the roof more than you do, right? So
Of
you're
course.
entering one fine day.
What
So they'll have a lot of questions on, hey, will this be like the same way it was before?
I've seen many places where
Mm.
the husband has booked the order, and when I've gone to the install, the wife has come and she has more questions than the husband. Okay, where I'm going to hang the clothes, what is going to happen,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
what happened to my garden?
Yeah.
It's like obvious, right? At
Roof
the
is a community area.
Yeah,
Mm.
so so I'll have to. So at that point of time, I don't expect my partners to answer that question. I
Mm.
expect somebody from my team to be there
Mm.
to answer. You can still
Correct.
continue
You need
to
somebody at a senior level to
level
answer that
to
question,
answer
right?
that question, right?
Mm.
Make them feel comfortable that
Mm.
their garden is going nowhere. They're actually getting a better roof space where they can sit down, spend some time, and also help them understand what are they actually contributing back to the society by doing this, right?
Mm. That's amazing, actually. I mean, the point that you mentioned that, the first 1 hour is like the most crucial
Most crucial.
time of installation.
Shailendra, I have a question, and this comes up often that there's the vehicle that you have. It's bright red, Atria branding screaming off it,
Mm.
and people are talking about it.
Okay.
It's like candy red, actually.
Apa-
Almost like candy red color,
yeah,
right?
Right.
Yeah.
but apart from the branding aspect of the vehicle, is there any other benefit of the vehicle itself?
The vehicle that we've taken, right? So branding, like you said, right? We had a lot, I think, conversation on how to keep the colors vertical. Then I
Yeah.
kind of agreed upon keeping it red. It's like the red signal. It says stop, right? And
Yeah.
it's just telling you stop and read what I've written. So there's
Yeah.
some messaging on the vehicle also, which is towards sustainability.
Yeah.
There's also messaging that we are Bangalore, Bangalore oriented, Nama Uru, Nama Bangalore kind
Yeah.
of a thing,
Localized.
localized, right?
Yeah.
Hyper local connect that we're trying to achieve here. And I think Atria has been associated with Bangalore for a very long term,
Correct.
50 years, right?
Yeah.
We delivered the act, at some point in time, the act fiber net. Now we're doing the education. So we win with the Bangalore community. And first that we want to do is give back something to the society. Okay. So having said that, the vehicle is a special vehicle because it's not the one that you get in the normal winger or that. It's kind of supports the 8 feet structure that I'm carrying,
Right.
right? So by structure, and it has been in the vehicle also, it's been designed in such a way that I can carry up to 20 panels without any shock. It's shock resistant
I
inside.
see.
We've built it like that. We also have some spaces for carrying some extra equipment in case there is shortage on this site, right? And there's a proper incoming and outgoing happening on the inventory. There's a webcam, like I was stating earlier. There's a camera inside the vehicle that tells me where it is happening. And I've also just futuristic, like when I'm coming up with my own app, I wanted to come up with a tracking mechanism, right? With a tracking
Mm.
mechanism. So I have maps of India
Mm.
that is tied to it.
Mm.
And I've been able to luckily associate with one of the greatest vendors who's also supporting the Atria Foundation with his vehicles. The guy is a very young guy and very supportive, and he's understood the vision that I have. So when I go from 1 to 10 to 20 to 30 vehicle, how the fleets of vehicles should work, that kind of a vision with which we created this vehicle, right?
Mm.
So all of the engineering has also been done into the vehicle to carry products. So I can at a time carry about 3 orders, right, and deliver different locations and come back.
So it gives you branding, which is external.
Yes.
It gives you the capability to transport safely
Right.
because the shock absorbers, and of course, enough space to put
Space.
in everything that you need. But very importantly, it allows you to put extra components that might be
Needed
needed
at
by
the
the
site.
install.
Yes.
Is it, many people try to optimize profit per install.
Right.
What's your take on that? And have you been able to achieve it despite paying more to your installer partners or putting in some of these extra equipment that may be needed?
So I personally feel that if you're trying to save, or like, let's talk about that term that comes into my mind is gross margin. Gross margin per project, and you're going to track it closely.
Hmm.
You're never going to gain it, right? It should be done probably on a multiple set of projects, or the overall that you've done on a monthly is what I feel, that I'm not going below a standard gross margin that I have, right?
Right.
And you should always keep in a leverage when you're doing operational. So there is a difference between doing, so I very cleanly state, operations with gross margin and operations delivering with customer experience will have a deficit of 2 to 3% of gross margin, and that is going to pay you off in the long term,
Hmm.
right? You're going to be into that state of, in a state of mission or state of position where pricing would not be something that will be questionable by the customers for you.
Hmm.
That does not mean you take undue advantage of that, but that just tells you that you are so trustworthy and you've delivered so well that people just don't care. When they talk about solar, they should just talk about Atria, right? I mean, it's like, just at one point of time when people used to talk about getting a car, they used to say Maruti 800,
Correct.
right? So I think that's the vision. With that, compromising on a 1 or 2% gross margin defect because of delivering customer experience is worth the crime, right?
Right.
Because every other customer that I've gone, I think 50% of my customers given me a referral, right?
Hmm.
So I'm kind of losing out. Maybe if I'm losing out something here, I'm kind of gaining something on the other end, right?
Hmm. So if I were to summarize what you told me, the secret to achieve a 7-hour install, I mean, I'm talking about install, we'll
Right.
come to commission soon.
Right.
7-hour install and commission is optimizing the SKUs and the supply chain,
Yes.
reducing complexities to a point that you can manage them easily, making sure that every process step is optimized and it's adhered to,
Yes.
and check that it's being adhered to constantly or not, having senior people take ownership and responsibility, and making allowances for small things that they will occur,
Right.
so you provide a solution for them.
Right.
And in your opinion, any gross margin that you might lose here is more than compensated, because over the grand scheme of things, this guy is going to give you a referral,
Yes.
and that referral is priceless.
Priceless.
Do you think this model is scalable? Meaning you are only operating in Bangalore right now.
Right.
But if you were to take this to other cities, would you be able to achieve this kind of excellence?
So when we did it in Bangalore, there was nobody who was doing this right now, right? We were able to do it Bangalore successfully. We're not overconfident, but we are confident that we'll be able to deliver the same piece of thing in another city. However, we don't intend to have a distributorship, or we don't intend to partner, because we are very closely related to the customer experience that we are delivering. We
Hmm.
just feel too many legs of outsourcing will just demolish the customer
Right,
experience,
right.
right? So that is one. I would not call it a fallback, but that's a strong point, that wherever city that we want to go to, we like to have the same set of team, replicate what we have done,
Right.
put something on autopilot, and then move on to the other city. It's like one city at a time, right? And it's very important. I understand that we cannot be completely focused on Bangalore. We would have to expand, but not at the cost of having customer experience being pained at, right? So I
Hmm.
think I have a long way to go in Bangalore right now. I think
Hmm.
I'm going to have a set number of orders that my
Hmm.
boss kind of looks at,
Hmm.
doing about 1,000 orders, right?
Hmm.
And with the numbers that I've seen, that the Bestcom has shown me, right,
Hmm.
it's very much achievable. It's just delivering constantly giving in better customer experience will get me to that number. I think once you're in that number frame of between 150 to 200 orders,
Hmm.
I think you've done well. All of your stuff is working in an autopilot,
Hmm.
and with all the technology and the CRM that you have tied up with, right,
Hmm.
it's perfectly working well. I think that struggle is only till that 150 orders.
Hmm.
So how are you doing vis-a-vis competition? Have you had any feedback on, because competition has been present for a much longer time that you have,
Right.
right? Now you're entering a space that is not only like a mature, not very mature, but then competition has been, like I said, competition has been there for quite some time,
Right.
and they have been trying to expand as well, right? So you're entering a space where there is, I would say, the right term is probably to say that there is established
Hmm.
competition,
Right.
right? There are people who know how to do this, they have done this before, and there are some people who are doing it at scale, right? I mean, some of the bigger companies which are like conglomerates,
Right.
right? They're doing like,
10,000
installations,
installs.
10,000 installs a month all over India, right? How do you compare yourself against them? And have you gotten any feedback from customers who are trying to compare you versus competition?
So I think I like to answer that question in a way that I've got direct feedbacks, but I've not considered in terms of having a competition challenge towards it, right? Because what I'm doing is completely different, right? I'm
Hmm.
not. It's like doing apples to apple and oranges to oranges kind of a comparison, right? What I'm doing is some completely different. I'm actually behind a vision of sustainability, able to deliver customer experience. And when we talk about solar, it was always considered as a construction work,
Correct.
right? A construction work. So construction work, when you talk about construction to you, Sriram,
Hmm.
you'll say, okay, I have to do this job. I'll get it done.
I'll immediately say stop.
Yeah,
I don't have mind space for
correct.
any
Construction.
civil work kind of a thing.
At
Yes.
my
I'll
home,
have to slot it.
yes,
I'll have to discuss it, and then
it is not the
you know,
foremost priority thing
yeah,
that you want to get it completed
it
today.
is like a
But
punch heel 5 year plan.
yes, but
Yes.
today the way the weather, the climate change is affecting, I think solar and any kind of renewable energy conversion is supposed to be the most prioritized thing that you should do. Let's look at the Bangalore's weather today, right? It has not been raining so drastically across the globe that it has been, you have floods
Yeah,
coming in,
yeah.
you have Wayanad things happening, and it's not been. So I think it's time, and you can only make mindset changes for customers if you're able to do this. Take it off from a construction product to a financial or a lifestyle product, right?
Yeah.
Make them feel that this is going to happen in very little time,
Hmm.
and you are doing a great job by taking a step forward, because you're contributing to your future generation by taking a step towards sustainability, right? So if you're able to do that, I think this will grow tremendously, and that's where I think I need more partners to come in, support me with this chain, because it's not going to be only solved by me, right? It has to have
Hmm.
more support. People take amongst each other, take learning lessons, take it forward, right? I mean,
Amazing. Yeah.
right, that's the thought process.
Yeah. We need more people doing the good stuff to
Right.
solve this massive problem. On that note, there are 26,000 installers in India.
Right.
What is your message for them?
So the first message that's saying I'm not going to be the 27 26,001. I'm going to somewhere climb down the chart and say I'm the first installer there, but not being very, adamant or very kind of overconfident about it. Let's do work today, harmless, let's deliver the right thing to the customers. Let's commit right thing to the customer. I think we all have a great job to do, right? I mean today what we are doing is going to sustain the earth, the universe, all of it for a very long times to come, right? So I just feel that let's do constructive work in a manner that we are able to deliver. Let's learn from each other, right? You might have many things that
Hmm.
I'm yet to learn. I'm too young into this industry
Hmm.
in terms of learning. I always keep myself open to learning. There
Hmm.
are many things that you can suggest me that can also make my learning curve from 4.5 hours to installation time to 2.5 hours. And maybe I learned 2, 3 steps from you. Maybe you learned from me.
Mm,
Let's collaborate together to deliver a great customer experience, right?
mm,
And how do we do that? And installers partners are always very close to my heart because my whole process is such a way that I don't have an in-house installation team. I tie up with partners.
mm,
If I am supposed to be doing 100 installs, you can just imagine. So my chairman says I should be doing 100 installs in a day.
mm,
So that's like having 100 installers with me, right? At one
mm.
given point of time,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? And all this of these 100 installers should be able to do at least two to three installs to do this monthly target which I'm achieving, trying to work, right?
right.
Mm.
So I am open to them to coming to me. Let's learn with each other. Let's deliver something else. And what's happening in the market is people have been very constructive about paying to this installer partners, right? In terms of payments not coming out in time, cribbing about a paisa change and a paisa to
Mm,
we're not doing that. We're saying you working for us, you're working the way that we want you to work, we pay you well, you keep happy, you are happy, we're happy about it,
right,
right? Let's have a mutual win-win kind of a
right,
situation,
right,
right?
right. We didn't speak about commissioning
Right.
because your 7 hour window also includes commissioning, where
Commission.
people typically takes 15 days,
That is
20.
the amazing thing because how do you get? I mean, it's difficult to get somebody from the electricity board to come in when there is a power cut,
Yeah.
right? How do you get them to come in and commission the entire installation so quickly?
So I think
Mm.
PM Surya Ghar Yojana, right?
Yeah.
That has been a very big stepping stone towards, I mean, I should say that has done 50% of the job, right? Where there is
Mm,
a
Mm.
lot of pressure from the central government, there's a lot
mm,
of pressure to the local discoms.
mm,
Whether the local government is not in sync with Delhi, doesn't matter. Just that they have some targets to meet. In
mm,
order for them to meet their target, along with us, the discom officials should also work at the same pace, right?
mm,
So now the question comes into the point where what are the steps that you should do? What makes things easy for them,
mm,
right? So I've had installers where there is papers missing. There are papers not in shape. The
Mm.
the the feasibility letter is not there. The
Mm.
electricity bill is not there. Maybe the khata transfer has not happened.
Mm.
I make sure all of this groundwork that is happening earlier is done to the prim and it is done to the
right,
point so that when he is running around with the papers, he's able to find everything there. Then you
right,
should not have an excuse to tell me why can I not come to your site right
right,
now,
Mm.
right.
right? That's one of the biggest thing that is going to challenge. So I make sure my paperwork is complete, right? And I've used a little bit of technology across in order where I don't have to use manpower to go to the customer's house, sign documents and all of that.
Mm.
Everything of these things I've tried to automate it as much as possible where it is more easy for the consumer, easy for me. It's not waste of time for anybody. Having said all of this, I also make sure that these guys kind of come and listen to us in terms of we have a weekly meeting. Whenever there's a meeting in the Bestcom and there is a MD meeting happening, we attend to that, we suggest something, and they're also very keen these days to improve, to make sure that all of these things work very hand in hand.
Mm.
Right?
So, on what is your ask from the government in terms of how they can support people like you even more?
I think the ask that I have, probably I've had paid some visits to the MNRE
Mm.
office and we've given them a list that we would want them, make the process very simple. Even now, although the
Yeah,
PM Surya Ghar Yojana has come in, there are some steps which is actually are there for the sake of it being there, right? There is no value add to that step. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I don't see probably, let's say, uploading the you'll have a local discom approve everything and they should have a Google location photo to be uploaded manually. Give us access to that while the vendor is working. The vendor will be able to do it for you right
Yeah,
at the spot, right?
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
There is a lot of paperwork that the discom official have to manually upload,
Right.
right?
Mm.
We have already done that job. We have done the same set of documents uploading in PM Surya Ghar, and that should transpose automatically to the local discom offices automatically, right? There is a bridge that is still pending to
Right.
cross, right? If we are able to cover that bridge, saying that okay, all of these manual efforts that can be reduced, there is no need for you to manually upload something. Use DigiLocker, right? For example, for
Yeah.
that net metering to be read in your office, maybe the discom official does not have to visit your office,
Mm.
right? He can just open that DigiLocker. That's the way you do your e-boarding
Yeah,
check-in,
yeah.
and the net metering meter comes in because these are already tested meters, right? You should
Mm.
already have the serial numbers of all of this.
Mm.
You can just test it over a video call or something and give an approval for it to go ahead.
Mm.
If you make these processes even more simpler, I think I can
So
get to
actually,
an
you don't
install
need
doing
somebody to come to your house at all.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. I mean it's important, but I think the only thing our discom official does, it comes and sees whether the net metering is working well,
Mhm.
and he writes an solar meter generation meter number on the which can be done. Now the label of that solar meter generation is something that I provide, because I don't like him writing on that
Mm.
you know on that box, or the Syntax
Correct.
box, so I give him a label. So when I'm doing to that level of it, if he can just do it through a digi locker kind of an app which is trusted by the
Yeah.
government, I think be at it, right?
Today
Yeah.
they bring the marker pen and they write on the,
Yeah,
the on the meter
on
today.
the meter roof, right?
Yeah.
I think if we do that, my 7 hours can be close to 5 hours. I've done the installation, I've done the commissioning as well.
Mm.
On the supply chain side, do you feel that the duties and the processes that are required by suppliers, like having DCR panels and maybe in the future having more stringent kind of Make in India mandates, do you think that's helping or that's hurting the industry?
That's actually, if you look at it, the cell manufacture in India, all of them is actually giving a lot of job. The industry is spanning up, giving a lot of portfolio to the Indian
Mm.
economy, which I stand by to it. But
Mm.
there should be a outward control to it, because there's a monopoly on the cells being produced and all of that.
Mm.
Unnecessarily, the DCR panels get increase with their price, right?
Mm.
For which there should be some government control to be put in place, right?
Yeah.
There has to be some control put in place in terms of, okay, there is a rate slab, right? You
Mm.
put in that the DCR panel, since it's going through PM Surya Ghar, you
Mm.
would not be charged above a certain rupee, right?
Right.
That will help. What's happening is, whatever the consumer is gaining out of the subsidy, if you look at it in a larger span of it, if I'm doing more than 10 kilowatt, probably 15 kilowatt, whatever he is gaining out of the subsidy, he loses in that difference of the price between a DCR and non DCR panel,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
that control has to be in place. If that control is in place, I understand. See, there's a lot of people who are playing around. I think sooner or later, I've had some conversations when I'd visited the Manari office. They are planning to do that, but that control will take some time for it to come in place, right? Because I
Right.
think it's not an overnight decision that has to come down, right?
Right.
Plus, I think the DCR panel checking, right? Many people in today's industry, which I don't stand by, right? They say DCR, it's not a DCR panel,
Hmm.
right? I think the government has realized that they are coming with an undertaking that we are supplying the DCR panels, right? They're also coming with a website where you can put in the serial number and check whether it's a DCR panel or not. So all the manufacturers should register their panel serial numbers to it. So, like I said, as this has come up, slowly I think the price point thing will also come up from the
Mm.
installers, where there will be a control.
Do you have like a future vision, or do you have any kind of ideas in terms of where Atria would be in the mid to long term? Where would you like to see your company go?
So Atria Renewable, one and the biggest vision or the goal that I have is to go have a very steady, healthy order rate. So I'm able to do complete about say 1,000 orders, right?
Yeah.
And that
Hmm.
1,000 orders is not only, let's just keep the revenue aside. So that much of carbon footprints I'm taking off, right?
Yeah.
When you're doing at that scale, and little above that scale is when you're actually making an impact to the society, right? You cannot be surviving or doing any impact to the society when you're doing just 20, 30 orders. That impact
Correct.
will take a long time to happen.
Hmm.
Right.
Second, I feel that everything that we're doing is marketing along with you guys. We kind of educate the customer in the
Correct.
right manner,
Right.
why they take the step, what are the differences, why they should not just shop around, and what is the impact it's making to the society, right? That messaging should go out very clearly to
Yeah.
them, right? Very clearly. Third, it's actually a combined vision. It's more of a vision that came into me when I sat down with my chairman. I kind of become the energy partner, right, for my customer, the consumer. So I kind of, you have the new peer-to-peer thing coming up, and all of
Mm.
this new things coming up from the Bescom, from the
Energy
Disco energy
marketplace.
marketplaces, right?
Hmm.
So I kind of become an energy market where all of these issues, where the common man has to go and fight out in the Discom office or the Biscom office, I become a synergy
Yeah.
partner, right? So that's a long term kind of a vision. So midterm, maybe we do better than what we are doing today, deliver more sustainable solutions, and then a longer term become an energy partner, right,
Right.
to the customer. And I think, the biggest goal that I'm really working very hard on right now, how do I sell this system equivalent to the subsidy? So thing is, okay, if you tell me that 3 kilowatt system is going to cost me 78,000 and you're going to get a subsidy of 78,000, I think you'll install it right away in about,
Correct.
Yeah, there's zero
right?
friction
There
there,
is
right?
zero
Yeah.
friction, right?
Hmm.
There's a lot of work to be done, but
Hmm.
I think if that is achieved,
Hmm.
that's going to, and that's going to be a next level changeover that's going to happen.
Do you think that's possible?
One,
Getting.
like I said, so there is a lot of control in the panel pricing that has to
Yeah.
come in,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
There's a lot of control, because there is still a heavy amount of, which exclusively goes to a player in between, which is,
Yeah.
which can be controlled, right?
Hmm.
And make in India, like you said, right? If you have make in India, deliver the right products, right quality of products, right, at a cheaper price. Why I pay the import duty and bring in other projects like
Absolutely.
cables and everything?
Hmm.
It's not that it's not possible. At least I can be very close to that ballpark number.
Right.
When we started out, you mentioned the fact that hey, you wanted to bring in something like a Amazon kind of a.
Right.
I think that's an amazing way to put it in, from a thought process where we look at solar as something that's got to do with construction,
Right.
right? You're constructing something, you're changing the way my house looks. From that, you're bringing it to a analogy which is like, hey, I'm trying to order something off Amazon. It's going to come in and somebody is going to install it. It's like, I bought an AC and someone installed my AC at home and is gone,
Right.
right? That kind of a concept. And then you brought about this other concept which is like, hey, the Indian consumer wants everything right now the moment he's paid for it,
Mm.
which is to the
Most
tune of
impatient customer.
most impatient customer ever,
Right.
right? And therefore, that's the reason why your Blinkits and Zeptos and
Exactly.
Swiggy Instamarts are like thriving today in this kind of a world.
Right.
So you're trying to marry this concept of getting in an Amazon kind of a predictable process uh, of purchase and installation,
Right.
and you're marrying that with the speed of something like a Swiggy or a Zomato. You're saying, hey, I'm going to marry these two things and I'm going to deliver this thing on your
Right.
rooftop.
Right.
So that, I think, is a very lofty claim, and I think it's a very, what I would call as a big, hairy, audacious goal for
Mm.
yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that requires, and some things of that, I mean, whatever are the requirements to get those things done, it certainly looks like you have solved for some of the big things which have challenged some of the major players in the industry till now.
Right.
And I'm not saying this for India as well, it's like across multiple countries, right?
Absolutely.
And then getting towards a 7-hour installation cycle and commissioning cycle for that matter is, I think, extremely commendable,
Yeah.
right? And I'm pretty sure you'll be able to solve for the remaining set of problems that you're also working on right now,
Right.
right? Do you have any closing comments on uh, what you just spoke about on delivering on this customer experience part?
So I think what I've learned and what I've understood, in my journey thus far, right, with companies earlier that I work with now, be honest to your customers, deliver to their expectation, and get a great feedback from them. Right. These three things have always worked out for me. Right. And in terms of being honest to the customer, delivering what I've said, like I've said, set the expectation right, deliver what you've committed, stick to one product, right, and deliver the best out of that, right. You only need for a change when you really have that change to be happening. Otherwise, you don't need that change to happen, right. So I've been able to do that. I'm just successfully working. There's a great support from the organization that I'm working. Right, there's a lot of open support that is given for me in terms of trying new things out. We are trying out some of the new panels that have come up. We're trying to test it again at the university. Right, all of this testing is still ongoing. So there's a heavy load of R&D that keeps happening at the university while we are putting in the products on the
Right.
road for us. Right, so
Right.
there's heavy amount of, so there is the weather monitoring devices being connected all across the panels. We're also trying to do some bifacial panel testings, deliver results. Why we doing that? Where we want to answer questions that customer may have, right? Answer customers rightly with data, right? We have the data. We have tested out. This is what it says. Hence, the system is the best for you, right?
Yeah.
And then give something back to the Bangalore, right? So hence, very keen on that Nama Uru, Nama Bangalore kind of a thing, and give back to the society in the right manner.
I think that's an amazing thought process, right? I mean, we call Bangalore our home, but incidentally, none of us are, you know, uh, from Karnataka per se, right? But we have been here
All
for
three
such a
of us.
long time.
Yes.
All
Yeah,
three of us have been here for such a long time,
correct.
and it's such a noble thought to say, hey, let's give back to our own city,
Yeah.
right? Which we call our home today.
Right.
I think that's a great closing thought process that you guys have.
Thank you, Shailendra.
Thank you, Prem. Thank you, Sriram.